for Christmas is my two front teeth. My two front teeth. See my two front teeth. Gee, if I could only have my two front teeth, then I...
All right, Paul, we talked about doing a Christmas episode, and no better way to start off a Christmas episode than with a little Christmas music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we sure did with that Christmas episode. I think with 2020 being such a strange year and filled with doom and gloom from the coronavirus, I think we wanted to kind of finish off the year on a little bit of a more upbeat note and be able to talk about the Christmas festive season, which is obviously going to be very different this year compared to what we're used to experiencing.
It is.
But we just make the most of it and just understand that Christmas is all about family, and it's unfortunate that we may not be able to have the large gatherings that we're used to having, but hopefully Christmas will still be good and we can still enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about this before, just how different regions of the country, different regions in the province have different rules and restrictions, and Toronto is rumored to be moving into the next level of warning zone, whatever that is, or lockdown. Right now we're in the gray zone, but I think they're going to even elevate that further. I think it's going to be basically a total shutdown from December 26th, they're saying, until January 1st, I believe.
Only till January 1st. I thought it would have been further into January.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah. I might be wrong about that. I just know that Doug Ford, our wonderful premier, is talking about having a much more restricted lockdown scenario coming into effect from the 26th. So maybe it does go into January further.
Yeah, I know that many other Canadian provinces are already into full-scale lockdown. So, if Toronto or Southern Ontario were to go that course, then I guess we would be in line with many regions throughout the country, throughout the world for that matter. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully it's over soon. The vaccine coming down the pipe.
Yeah, hopefully. So in honor of our idea to have a Christmas episode, no one can see me, but I got my Christmas hat on. But you're not wearing anything festive. You're not even wearing green or red or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't even dawn on me to put on a festive hat. I have an ugly Christmas sweater. I could have put that on.
You should have had that on.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, so that the viewers or listeners, I guess, can see what your ugly Christmas sweater looks like. Maybe you can take a photo of yourself in it after, and we'll post it into the show notes.
Yes. Yeah. Good idea. Will do.
And I guess we should take some time actually to remind people that we do have a website. I don't think a lot of people know that.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great website. It has a lot more information, and all the podcasts can be accessible through the website.
And yeah, we have all the episodes are up to date. My wife, who's our behind-the-scenes producer, put together put all the latest episodes up, so we're up to speed on that. And there you can see things like pictures of I don't think we have a picture of you up there yet. So maybe your Christmas picture will be the first one we put up of you, so people can have an idea of who the voice is behind Paul.
Okay, sounds good.
Or who the face is behind the voice of Paul.
Yeah, the mysterious voice of Paul. People need to see what I look like.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, have you ever had that before, though, where you watch you have a radio show you like, and then you end up looking up the person, or you find out what they look like, and then you're usually, for me anyway, totally surprised by the way the person looks.
Yeah, very much so. Even in business, people that you've dealt with through business and you've talked to them over the phone, and when you actually see them in person, their appearance is different from what you'd expect them to look like. It's kind of weird that way. But it's kind of a fun game in terms of the sound of someone's voice, trying to picture what they would look like if you had never met them before or hadn't seen a picture of them.
I think my first experience with that was the long-time radio voice of the Blue Jays, Jerry Howarth.
Okay.
And also he used to have a partner in crime called Tom Cheek, or named Tom Cheek, who unfortunately has passed away. But they were the voices of the Blue Jays for, I think, about 30 years. And I remember the first time I saw what they looked like.
Ball hit deep to left field. Long, high drive. That ball's up, and there she goes. John McDonald hits third base. A high five from Coach Brian Butterfield.
I think they did a TV thing where they had the two of them they showed them on camera anyway. And I said, what? That's what Jerry Howarth and Tom Cheek look like? And it kind of broke the spell a little bit, I have to admit.
What were you expecting? Like ex-ball players or something? Or like bigger guys?
No, but their voices just didn't match what I was expecting. It's so long ago, I can't remember what I was thinking. But even when you listen to some radio programs, like with some fairly aggressive hosts, like on 1010, one of the radio stations here in Toronto, they have these morning show people, and they have these personalities. They're quite larger than life, right? And then you look up their photo and you're like, that's the guy?
Yeah, the other one too is that sometimes people, when you're used to seeing them on TV, and when you see them in person, they're completely different. Well, you and I remember that time when we saw, I believe it was Lloyd Robertson, famous Canadian news broadcaster who's now long since retired. Yeah, I think we saw him once at some kind of a luncheon. And if you recall from what we remember, he had this big head, but he was actually a really small guy. And, you know, when you see someone's face on TV, you don't see the rest of their body. So to see him in person, it's like, wow, he's a smaller guy, really much shorter than what I expected.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be kind of interesting as well.
That's fairly typical, is a lot of like actors are much shorter than you think. Like Sylvester Stallone's the first guy I think of when it comes to the height of actors that you assume are much taller, and then you see them in real life and they're 5'9" or something like that, and they look like they're 6 foot tall on in the movies that they're in. So, all right, this is the question round. We're gonna each ask each other Christmas questions. And I don't really know what to expect exactly, but when we talked about this beforehand, we said, let's come up with 7 or 8 questions that we can both answer. You've come up with some, I've come up with some. So do you want to kick it off with your question?
Sure.
Your first question? Oh, I should mention I have, in the Christmas spirit, I have some Baileys and coffee.
Oh, okay. I got my fruit smoothie milkshake here, so... Not very festive, but it's healthy at least.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Shoot. I shouldn't have interrupted.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't have. Here I go. So question number 1. People who do not put up Christmas lights around the exterior of their house, should they be considered Grinches or humbugs? In other words, if you pass a house and it has absolutely no Christmas lights up whatsoever, does that change your view? Do you think that those people are Grinches because they don't want to participate in the Christmas spirit? And I realize there's exceptions, because let's say if, you know, someone is a frontline healthcare worker and they just don't have the time to put it up, you know, I'm not, that's one thing in itself. But let's say just generally, if you're walking down your street and your neighbor, who is, you probably know, is working from home and they don't have any Christmas lights up, what is your view on that? Does your respect level go down a little bit?
Well, hold on a sec. So is it Christmas lights or is it Christmas decorations?
Anything. Like Christmas decorations or lights. Something to join in the festive spirit.
I would say no, it doesn't. I don't even think twice about it.
Okay.
If someone doesn't have Christmas stuff up, no, it doesn't even cross my mind. I notice it when there is Christmas stuff up, and then I think that would cross my radar, and I'd say, oh, that's nice. And actually, it's funny you mention this, because there's a house across the street from us who, I'll say they're kind of odd people. They keep to themselves, and we've had these neighbors now probably about 10 years. They don't really talk to anybody. They're a little bit odd. Like if you see them and you say hello when you pass them on the street, they kind of look at you funny, like sort of stare at you. And they don't even really say hello back. They just sort of stare at you and kind of like looking at you like you didn't even speak their language, but I know they speak English. But what I was going to say is they have a whole bunch of Christmas stuff out front. And I said to my wife, that's interesting. They just don't seem like people that put Christmas stuff, like the type to put Christmas things on their lawn. Like, and these are like very young things. Like there's a big seal with a Christmas hat on. There's a Santa in a sleigh, and there's all these candy canes they've kind of put along their walkway. And it just seems so out of character. But now that I think of it, I think one of their kids had a kid. So I think it's because there's some young children that are coming over there now that maybe they've decided to kind of amp it up. But yeah, there's so no, I don't judge it at all.
Okay, yeah, because the reason I asked that question is because on my street, people are pretty festive. There's a lot of houses on my street that are decorated with Christmas lights or some kind of Christmas decoration. But there's a row of maybe about 5 or 6 houses. Like there's a stretch further down the street where there's nobody, for those 5 or 6 straight houses, there's like no Christmas decorations up. And it's like, you know what? You couldn't make an effort to just throw up some lights or just do something to get in the festive spirit. I don't know. It's just something like that. I'll be honest, it bugs me a little bit when people make no effort whatsoever.
But what is Christmas, though? I mean, is it about Christmas lights and decorations, or is it about a religious holiday?
Well, I think it's also a sense of community. You know, I view it in the sense that, you know, putting up Christmas lights, unless there's a really good reason why I can't put it up, I will make the effort to put up the Christmas lights because it's in some ways it's sort of spreading Christmas cheer or doing my part to celebrate the holidays. People, well, for me, my wife and I, we take many walks around the neighborhood looking at Christmas lights. And obviously many people love doing that. So I think putting up Christmas lights is just a way to kind of brighten up your neighborhood and just a sense of community, sense of camaraderie. I don't see why.
So these folks are just not satisfying you. you want to go on a walk and see Christmas lights on every house.
Well,
and
why
yet
not?
When you pass these 4 or 5 houses and there's no lights.
Yeah, just
that bothers
my
you.
view is make the effort. Why not? You don't have to have anything fancy, but at least something that just signifies that, hey, you know what, you're engaged in Christmas.
What about Halloween? Like if somebody doesn't have a pumpkin out front, is it same sort of thing?
You mean if somebody's
they're not going to accept kids in to the front, like to give candy out? Like, how do you feel about that when you see it?
It maybe doesn't bother me as much, but when I take my son out trick-or-treating and there's houses that don't give out, I don't necessarily judge. I think people should make an effort to hand out candies for Halloween. But yeah, Halloween, I'm not, that one doesn't bother me as much as my view on that people should make the effort to get into the Christmas spirit, especially this year with all the doom and gloom. You know, if it's a way to kind of brighten up the neighborhood by putting up Christmas lights, then I think it's a good thing to do.
Well, you threw your caveat in the beginning, just saying some people don't have time for it. So
no, that's true.
Isn't that, what if that's the case? How do you know that those people that have put up those things that they don't have time?
Depends on what they're doing. Yes, there is some exceptions where there might be some people that don't have the time to put up the Christmas lights, or maybe they don't celebrate Christmas, and that's understandable. But there is still a large number of houses that just do not put up any kind of Christmas decorations whatsoever. There can't be that many people that are busy. So, go on out there, throw some lights, do something.
I have a feeling there's going to be a number of listeners who are not going to like what you're saying.
Really. We need to be more festive.
Okay, let's move on. My turn. Have you ever experienced a Christmas incident? And by that, I mean attending a Christmas event, maybe it's a family event, a work event, where there's been some sort of incident that's occurred, like a drunk uncle falling into the Christmas tree, or I'm going to use drunk uncle again, but a drunk uncle who decides that this Christmas gathering is the time that he's going to bring up some very sensitive issue in the family, and then an argument ensues, and there's a couple people storm off and they don't talk to each other for 6 months, or maybe something that happened at work, some scandalous thing, anything that you can think of that's ever happened, a Christmas incident, embarrassing, scandalous?
Well, that's a good question. Basically, the answer is no, in that not from a family standpoint. Any family gatherings, I'm glad to say that have been, knock on wood, have been drama-free. There isn't, I don't think there's any drunk uncles or drunk aunts in the family or anything like that.
All right.
At least certainly none that have caused any disturbances or prematurely ended a Christmas party or anything. So yeah, I've been pretty lucky in that regards to not have to deal with family drama. Okay. Really the only incident that maybe comes to mind is, in years past, some of the company Christmas parties I've been to where there's that one individual that has too much to drink and makes a fool out of himself. Remember one of my Christmas party I went to many, many years ago, there was an employee that she got way too drunk, and I think at one point there was a lampshade on her head. And unfortunately for her, within about a week or so, I think she was let go from the company. So those are examples where you really do still have to behave when you're in the company time there.
Well, that's an interesting one, because could you, this is sort of a bit off topic, but in Japan, if you get drunk at a company event and you do something really stupid, tell your boss off or something like that, apparently it's kind of dismissed as okay because, well, you were drunk and not really in control of yourself, so it's not your fault that you did something offensive and obscene.
It's an open-minded way of looking at it.
Very.
Yeah, no, I know of that incident for sure, and I've heard of a few other incidents with people making an arse out of themselves at the Christmas party, and ends up being a very career-limiting move.
Well, the only thing I can think of is at one Christmas party, there was an older gentleman that was, actually wasn't a gentleman at all, but an older person who was dancing. Now, at the time this was 20 years ago, we had a Christmas party where only the people from the company were allowed to attend it. You weren't allowed to bring your spouses, which is just an absolute recipe for disaster.
It is, yes.
Mix alcohol, festivities, and night and dancing, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So there was an incident where somebody basically put their hands into the back of a woman's dress, then reached around into the front and grabbed their breasts. Yeah. Horrible.
Should the Diehard movies be considered Christmas movies?
Oh, that's interesting. So there's a few movies like that, right? Where they're not really Christmas movies, but they've got Christmas going on in the background.
Yeah.
And so should that be considered a Christmas movie? No, I would say in the traditional sense, that's a different category of Christmas movies. That is not a Christmas movie. It's a movie where Christmas is in the movie, but it is not a Christmas movie. So I say no. Is there any Christmas drink or food that you absolutely cannot stand that is considered part of Christmas tradition?
I'm not really a big fan of Christmas cake, the one with all the fruit in it.
Oh, yeah. Me either.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird Christmas foods that get dragged out, like trifle. I was never a fan of trifle. It's a very English dish.
Oh, yeah. Like that. It's a big bowl and it's got layers in it.
Yeah. And I'm not huge into eggnog either. Lots of drinks involving eggnog. And it's like, I have one or two sips, but I never end up finishing them.
I didn't used to like eggnog, but I kind of like it now.
What about you? What are your dislikes of Christmas type of dishes and foods?
Well, I say that as you say that, I'm sipping on my Baileys and coffee right now. So,
So we know you like that.
This trifle thing, now that I'm looking at it, not my first choice. Mincemeat pies.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, I'm not a fan of mincemeat pies. It just looks weird.
Well, here's a question: is mincemeat? I think it's minced meat, right?
Yeah, but it's not even meat.
Which-
it's actually a fruit. It's like a fruit mixture of some kind.
Yeah, it's considered a sweet.
It is, yeah. You would have it in a dessert.
So I am going to clarify here. It is actually mince meat, not minced meat. And a mince pie is a sweet pie of English origin filled with a mixture of dried fruits and spices called mincemeat that is traditionally served during the Christmas season in much of the English-speaking world. So those of the listeners that aren't familiar with it, it's this, weird, spicy, it looks like kind of like a pecan pie. If you've ever had a pecan pie, it kind of looks like that brown mixture inside of a pie, but it's a strange taste. I can do them in little tiny doses, but I'm certainly not going to pull out a slice of minced meat pie. No, thank you.
Yeah, not my first choice. Unwanted or undesirable family members at Christmas. Why is it an obligation? So I asked that question because you hear a lot about families getting together at Christmas that really don't like each other. They do it out of duty. My brother, who was a policeman for many years, would tell me, early in his career when he'd have to work the Christmas Day shift, most of the day you end up breaking up domestics and fights in people's homes and the turkeys thrown out in front lawn, that type of thing.
Jeez.
So, if certain families, if meeting up once a year is such an undesirable and disastrous occurrence, then why do people do it? Why are we obligated to spend time with family members that we may not like or don't care about? I'm not saying this from my personal experience. I'm just saying this in general, where you hear about families get together and they can't stand each other and ends up having a fight.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I think it is about people feel that they have this duty to get together at the holidays. So it's a bit of he's my brother, so I guess I'm supposed to go see him.
Yeah.
Or I think also you're kind of doing it for other family members. So if you don't like your brother, then you still go see your brother because that's the way you're going to see your parents, because they're going to be, your brother's hosting a party or you're hosting a party, and you're not going to not invite your brother. So there's some of that, I think, where because you won't see them anyway. And then secondly, I guess it's about maybe putting differences aside for the holidays, that for this one day of the year that you can put aside your issues and just do it for everybody's sake. So
yeah,
it's just part of the holiday tradition.
Yeah. No, true. But when it's going to be a disaster, you wonder why people put themselves through that.
Well, I think there's this feeling that maybe there's some optimism that this time around, maybe it won't be so bad. Okay. What's the most bizarre Christmas tradition? And we'll say you can select from other countries if you want to, but you can either pick North America or another part of the world if you're aware of any traditions there. But what's the most bizarre or weird Christmas tradition that you've observed?
Honestly, I don't really know. Nothing's really coming to mind in terms of different cultures. Even just thinking of my own experiences, I don't, within my own family, I don't think we have any weird or odd traditions or anything like that.
Okay, I have one for you.
Okay.
I'll ask you about. All right, so there's this tradition of a man in a red and white suit who goes to different houses all over the world on one night, December 24th, climbs down a chimney into people's homes, often eats milk and cookies that have been left out for him on the kitchen table, delivers presents, and then climbs up the chimney and out onto the roof and gets into a sleigh with reindeers attached to it and flies off to the next house. Is that not a bit bizarre?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that guy Santa Claus is a bit strange, right? Yeah, I thought you meant in terms of traditions within that we would celebrate within sort of my own family. But no, you're right. The whole concept of
you do celebrate that, don't you? Doesn't Brandon think that He's aware that if a man in a red suit comes and delivers his presents, he takes pictures with him every year. And,
Yeah, 10-year-old who, Okay, I got one for you. Do you think that New Year's is one of the most overrated holidays or events? And the reason I bring this up is because normally for celebrating New Year's, we'll just go to a friend's house. Just keep it simple, just a group of people within someone's home. But many years ago, maybe only a couple times, you would go out to a bar or something like that. And, the whole concept of New Year's, even going out to a restaurant, it just seems like it's that one day of the year where restaurants can double the price and bars can charge what they want and absolutely fleece people. From that perspective, going out to celebrate New Year's at like an establishment somewhere, do you think it's made out to be so overrated?
I would say that a lot of people probably do go and celebrate New Year's in a way that, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about getting together with people they don't like at Christmas. I think New Year's is kind of similar, that people do things that they don't necessarily want to do, but they do it because they feel they have to put some kind of pomp and ceremony around New Year's, because it's been built up as this really important time of year, of a new year. A year is ending and a new one is starting. Yeah. So I think you see a lot of people that are in either camp. You have the going to pull out all the stops, dress up, go out and whoop it up and spend hundreds of dollars a person on a New Year's celebration. And then you also get the people that just love to stay at home and watch the ball drop or whatever. And some people, I have a friend of mine, he's asleep by probably 11:30. He doesn't even wait for the ball to drop or any of that stuff. He goes to bed at 11:30. Yeah. So is it overrated? Yeah, probably. But I think people a lot of people just do it because they think it's some kind of duty to do it. Yeah. To make it into a big deal.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah. And as I said, we keep it fairly low key, just kind of a small group of friends together, and you can have just as much fun. But my wife and I, we made the decision many years ago that we would never, go out to a bar or a restaurant to celebrate New Year's, because you get absolutely gouged. I think it's just an excuse just to fleece people for money. I mean, you're really not getting anything out of it. I remember, many years ago going to a bar for New Year's, and you end up paying like $30 a ticket or something, and all you got was like a small
$30.
Yeah, something like that. And really, all you got was like a small.
That's pretty cheap. What was this?
No, it's just like it was at a pub or something like that, and you're basically paying for the privilege of being there on New Year's.
That was your first problem. Going to a New Year's Eve party that only cost $30 a person.
Yeah, well, but you didn't get anything for it. You just, I think they may have passed out a couple of miniature things of champagne or something, but you didn't get anything for that $30. It was just to essentially just enter the building and just be there on New Year's. And I just said, wow, this is kind of a ripoff, So my wife and I, at $60, I could have taken that $60 and stayed at home and ordered out for a really nice meal or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Most despised Christmas song. And that can be a Christmas carol. It could be a Christmas holiday song that you hear typically played. And then on the flip side of that, favorite Christmas song, if you have one.
I don't know if I have necessarily one particular Christmas song that I despise. I don't like it when certain Christmas songs are sort of butcherized in that, people sing it and take liberties with traditional songs, or, I've heard some pretty bad Christmas songs.
Bad versions of
bad
songs?
Versions of songs, and I forget the names or versions or who sang them, but just generally speaking, yes, I've heard some really bad versions of Christmas songs where, I hate it when artists come out with a Christmas album just for the sake of a Christmas album, why do all music artists feel compelled that they have to do a Christmas album. It's just a cash grab.
That's a really good one, and I actually wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
Did you know that, first of all, Billy Bob Thornton has a band?
I think I knew that, yeah.
They're called the Boxmasters, and they actually have a Christmas album.
Yeah, like why?
It's called Christmas Cheer by the Boxmasters.
Yeah. Yeah, like just stuff like that. Like, why does everyone feel compelled that they have to do a Christmas album? Like, no.
Let's have a listen to one of these songs just so we have a sense of what these guys sound like.
I'll have a blue Christmas without you. I'll be so blue just thinking about.
That is Blue Christmas by the Boxmasters. Good example, as you said, of a band that needs to feel, they have to be a band in the first place, and then secondly, they have to have a Christmas album. But any favorite Christmas songs?
Well, I like traditional Christmas carols. I'm very much a traditionalist when it comes to Christmas stuff like that.
I think people have got that impression you're kind of a conservative guy and that you're very much a traditional guy.
I can be a little traditionalist that way. Like, for example, like White Christmas has got to be sung by Bing Crosby, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the original Christmas music, Christmas carols. There is some more contemporary stuff which is good, but I'm more of a traditionalist. So I don't know if I have a true number one favorite, but I like my traditional Christmas music not to be butcherized or played with too much. How about you?
All right, so here's the one that I despise.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
Is that Mariah Carey?
That's it, yeah.
Okay.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
It's a song that gets very overplayed. Yeah, I'm not a huge Mariah Carey fan myself, so I'm indifferent on it, but yeah, I can see why you may not like that, yeah. It's very much overplayed.
Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you.
My wife saw the list of questions that I asked you or that I was going to ask you, and she actually had a song that she wanted us to play on the air today. So I'm going to do it just for her. I don't know if I can make that other song stop. There we go. All right. I don't know if you've ever heard this song before, but I'm going to play it.
Hey, jingity jing, it's Domenick the donkey. Jingity jing, the Italian Christmas donkey. La 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 la.
You heard it?
Oh yeah, I've heard it.
You got a smile on your face like it's maybe one of your favorites.
No, but it's an Italian Christmas?
Yeah, it's called Domenick the Donkey, the Christmas album.
Oh, okay.
And it's Lou Monte.
Because the reindeer cannot climb the hills of Italy. Hey,
Yeah, it's kind of one of those goofy songs. Like, I wouldn't seek it out, let's put it that way.
All right, back to you. What do you got there? Let's do one more.
Well, let's go with an obvious one. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
A Christmas Story.
Okay, all right.
No doubt about it.
Number one favorite, no hesitation, right?
Absolutely. Love it. It's A Christmas Story. Many reasons why it's a favorite. Number one, it takes place in the 40s, I believe. It just seems like a Christmassy time. It's about a kid who wants a BB gun for Christmas. And so there's that feeling of being a kid and what a kid wanted. And the whole time through the movie, as parents, as teachers, everybody says, you can't have one because you'll shoot your eye out.
What would you like for Christmas?
Horrified, I heard myself blurt it out.
I want an official Red Ryder Carbine Action 2-inch air ball air rifle.
Ooh.
No. Shoot your eye out.
Oh, no, it was the classic mother BB gun block. You'll shoot your eye out.
BB guns are dangerous. I don't want anybody shooting his eye out.
Awesome movie. Part of it was filmed in Toronto, which also is another reason I like it. Some of the scenes were shot in Toronto. And I remember a friend of mine, his dad remembers the day they were shooting the scenes in Toronto because there were all these old cars from the 40s parked on the street near where his mother lived, my friend's grandmother. They used the street down in the Greenwood area, I think it was, or down by Eastern Avenue. Yeah, Greenwood, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and if correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was filmed in the early 1980s, right?
It was like 86, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe 84. Great movie. I highly recommend it. It's a tradition. In some stations play it on Christmas Day for the whole day, back to back, like over and over and over again. So it's one of those things I love to just have on in the background. It's just a fantastic movie. What about you?
So my favorite Christmas movie is A Christmas Carol. And again, going back to sort of my traditionalist ways, I like the original black and white version, the one filmed in 1951 starring Alistair Sim. And usually they...
Was it 1951?
1951, yeah. And
God,
usually...
It looks older than that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It does look older than that. But yeah, filmed in early 1950s. And yeah, that's my all-time favorite because it's more of like a family tradition.
Do you watch it in the black and white version only, or will you watch a colorized? Because they've colorized it. Do you watch it in color?
I'll watch it in both. My wife doesn't really like watching black and white, so her deal is that if I'm making her watch it, then it has to at least be colorized, and that's okay. But yeah, I think usually every Christmas Eve, one of the local channels usually airs that. And you can get it on Netflix or Amazon anyway. But yeah, that's sort of a Christmas tradition of watching that. We also like Home Alone as well.
Okay, Home Alone and A Christmas Carol. Here's a question. A Christmas Carol, it's your favorite. Will you watch it from the very beginning until the very end every time you watch it?
Yes. Yes.
Do you know, I don't think I've ever watched that movie front to back. It's a long movie from what I remember. It just seems to go on and on and on.
I don't know. I don't think so. Standard length, maybe an hour and 40 minutes or so.
Actually, you're right. You know what? It is only an hour and 26 minutes. You know what I'm confusing it with? I'm confusing it with It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, okay. You know, I don't think I've actually seen Wonderful Life from start to finish. I probably should. I know Wonderful Life is probably on many people's lists of all-time favorite Christmas movies, but yeah, I haven't... that one I haven't really given a shot at.
Do you know It's a Wonderful Life was actually a bomb at the box office when it came out? And it only became a hit like after?
I think I heard that. Yeah. Later on, it became sort of like a cult favorite.
So It's a Wonderful Life is 2 hours and 10 minutes. That's
okay. So
that's pretty long for
it. It is, yeah. Especially for a movie, I think it was made in the 1930s, if I'm not mistaken. That seemed long for a movie made back then.
Yeah, actually, it was funny enough. You say it was 1946 it was made.
Okay.
So right, again, a movie that seems older than it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think the thing that makes these movies kind of go on forever is like, in the sense that it feels like they're long, is because you're aware of a few scenes in the movie, and so you kind of focus it. So when you see, like, you know, what's the girl say by the Christmas tree?
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
I think maybe because you kind of have these scenes that you expect, and once they're gone and done, you're like, okay, when's the movie over?
You know, sort of going back to what we were talking about before with, you know, are the Diehard movies, well, Diehard 1 and 2, are they considered Christmas movies? It's interesting how there are certain movies that are always played on Christmas Day. Like, I was just thinking to myself that on Christmas Day, you will always find The Godfather being played. And I would not call that a Christmas movie. Again, maybe...
I wasn't aware that The Godfather was often seen on Christmas Day.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, usually like AMC or one of those channels. Guaranteed. Christmas Day, look it up. You will find Godfather somewhere. And definitely not Christmas movies. Usually you'll find the James Bond movies get played around Christmas time as well. So yeah, I just find it interesting how there's certain movies that you will always find them being aired in and around Christmas. So yeah, look it up. Christmas Day, you'll find The Godfather. I am looking almost absolutely sure.
Yeah, here it is. How The Godfather Became an Unlikely Holiday Classic.
Yeah. Huh. Now that's a long movie, but well worth it.
Oh, I forgot to tell you one of my favorite Christmas songs. It's Teddy the Red-Nosed Senator.
That's a real song?
Anyway, let's move on to news. Strange news, Christmassy, if possible.
Yeah, I found there's two stories here that are Christmas related. There's one headline that jumped out at me saying, illegal winery busted at Alabama town's sewage plant. So this holiday season, as we're thinking about gifting bottles of wine to people...
You got to repeat that title again.
Illegal winery busted at Alabama town's sewage plant. So we've all had a horrible bottles of wine given to us at Christmas time. So the headline is that sheriff's officials say that they've busted an illegal winery that was operating at a municipal sewage plant in a small North Alabama town. So they received an anonymous tip about alcohol operation at a municipal building. Investigators then uncovered what was described as a large illegal winery inside the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, that's, I guess, maybe the last place you'd expect to find a winery, but what was illegal about it? It just wasn't licensed, or?
Yeah, it's not licensed.
It sounds like a prohibition kind of thing, like something they were trying to do under law enforcement because it was, or under the, so they weren't known that they were doing this. Why the hell would they do it there? Why don't they just go to a place where you would normally make wine?
Yeah, so your question about the legality of it, it says it's legal to make limited amounts of wine at home in Alabama, but it's illegal to have more than 15 gallons of homemade wine or beer at a time. So they showed fermenting vessels what appeared to be more than 100 gallons of white and red wine. So there you go. So if you get
And this happened at Christmas time?
Yeah, I think this is recent. Yeah, this is this week. So yeah.
Well, wine certainly goes with Christmas. So I guess that qualifies. And it happened in December. So
yeah.
Okay, what else do you got? You had another story. What was the other one?
The headline is Vatican Darth Vader nativity scene gets earthly thumb down. So to explain this one here, so St. Peter's Square in the Vatican, they have nativity scenes within their square every Christmas. And sometimes they can take, according to this article, they've taken liberties with, I guess, what is, I guess, provided or what is the nativity scene that is created within this square. And I guess this year's version of it took a lot of liberties. So they're saying that apparently it's a futuristic scene that includes an astronaut and a character reminiscent of Darth Vader from Star Wars. So apparently this is creating quite the stir because especially at the Vatican, the most holy place on the planet, almost, and you would
I don't know if it's the holiest, but it's the most religious.
Sorry, yes, you're right. I should correct that. Yes, the most religious place. You would think that any kind of a nativity scene in St. Peter's Square would be very traditional. So for them to take liberties with a futuristic Star Wars type of nativity scene seems really bizarre.
I'm just seeing if there's some picture of this thing here.
Yeah.
First thing that came up for me was a Snopes article that actually says that this... it says here, does the Vatican have Darth Vader in its nativity scene? It says here that this is a false story. But is this the same story as what you found?
Yeah, no, there's pictures of it and everything.
What's the source?
Huffington Post. Yeah. So no, it's showing pictures of it. So this thing is there. I don't know if it was there temporarily or if it was there just as a joke. So some of the descriptions is that Mary, Joseph, the three kings, and the shepherds look like cubic chess figures, and the animals are squat and square.
I'm just looking at this, and it says here, Edmonton Sun reported on it, Vatican Darth Vader nativity scene gets earthly thumbs down. And then this is a link to this article within Snopes saying it's fake. But is it because they look like Star Wars figures, or are they actually Star Wars figures?
Well, because they look like Star Wars figures. So essentially I think how it works here is that these nativity scenes are donated by towns and local artists.
Yep.
So this year's artist happened to be a modernistic artist that obviously wanted to take a different approach.
So the clarification on this is that it is a nativity scene in the Vatican that some have said is a Star Wars nativity. That's Darth Vader in this scene, but it's actually just that it looks like him.
Exactly, yeah. So it's not an official Star Wars nativity scene, but people are drawing comparisons. And they feel that it's just inappropriate, especially given its location. And just in general, I would think that many people, in Italy, where Catholicism is very prevalent and very important part of their culture, that they wouldn't take kindly to interpretations on, various religious artifacts and figures.
All right, I got a story here that I wanted to share. It's not really a weird news story, but it's a weird Christmas tradition. In fact, I found a few. But the one that I really wanted to highlight was a tradition in Catalonia.
Mm-hmm.
It says, welcome to the bizarre Catalan tradition of caga tio, or defecating log.
Okay.
So locals in Catalonia create a character out of a log, drawing a face on it and giving it a hat. Then they spend a fortnight feeding it fruits, nuts, and sweets. On Christmas Eve, the entire family beats the log with sticks and sings a traditional song that translates to, if you don't crap well, I'll beat you with a stick until the log excretes all its treats. Yeah. They also decorate their nativity scenes with small pooping ceramic figurines. Usually well-known characters often drawn from that year's news, the figurines always have their pants around their ankles.
So weird. Yeah, you definitely need to attach a link for that in the show notes. I want to read more on that one. That seems so bizarre.
All right. Let me include one more. Going back to where I spent the last 3 years of my life in Japan, a very traditional thing to do on Christmas Day is you order chicken from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Okay. KFC. All right. Well, I know that a lot of people, one of their Christmas traditions, either Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, is that they order it for Chinese food. So that's not too unusual. But yeah, KFC in Japan, I'm a little bit surprised it's KFC.
Well, so KFC is quite popular in Japan, and it says here, due to a combination of tiny Japanese ovens and a clever marketing campaign convincing locals that fried chicken is a traditional American Yuletide feast, reservations have to be made to eat at a KFC on Christmas Day. During the run-up to Christmas, Colonel Sanders' statues outside KFC's Japanese outlets wear Santa gear. The chicken is served in a special holiday packaging. Demand is such that an online service has been created. Order your Christmas family bucket in advance and have it delivered.
Interesting. So did you ever observe that when you were there?
No, because we were, except for last year, we were always out of the country when Christmas was going on. We always came back to Canada.
Yeah.
But last year we stayed, and I wouldn't say I noticed any Colonel Sanders with Santa costumes or outfits on. Yeah. But, well, Paul, I'm glad we got our first We Talked About This Christmas edition complete. And I think we're going to try to put up a New Year's edition of some kind, right? Next episode?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can do a little reflecting maybe. And
yeah, hopefully brighter and good things ahead for 2021. improvement from what we've experienced this year. But yeah, I'm glad we did this Christmas episode. It's nice to finish off the year on, as I said, more of a brighter note, keep it more laid back. I know that we've tackled some heavy topics and subjects throughout the year, so this was a nice one just to kind of have a good Christmas fireside chat, I guess.
Yeah. Well, as I said before, people are welcome to write to us. They can email us at wetalkedabouttthis99@gmail.com or go to our website at wetalkedabouttthis.net. Love to hear your feedback. And I just want to say that this episode was brought to you by Pace Painting. Pace Painting, full disclosure, it's my brother-in-law's painting company, and he's fast, reliable, efficient, does great work, and he's agreed to sponsor our coffees during our podcasts. So thank you to Peter at Pace Painting. I'll put up details about how to get a hold of Peter. He does residential painting. He does commercial painting. Great guy. Pace Painting.
You know Hitler and Caesar and Agnew and Nixon, Stalin and Lenin and David the Klansman. But do you recall the most famous politician of all?
Teddy the Red-Nosed Senator had a very shiny car, and if you ever saw it, you were probably near a bar. All of the other senators wondered how he got his dames. They thought he drank too many to play in any bedroom games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, Teddy, with your nose so red, won't you help me guide my sled? That's how the police found them, wrapped around a maple tree. Teddy, the red-nosed senator, he's a drunken SOB.
He's a drunken